Hello everyone, and welcome to your short video on adding and subtracting functions. So I have two functions here. I have f of x equals 2x minus 6, and I have g of x, which is x plus 10. Let's say that I want to add them together. Here's how I would write that. I would write f plus g of x equals, and then I would simply add together these functions. If you wanted to, you could think of it like this. We're going to take f of x and we're going to add g of x to it. And f of x we know is 2x minus 6. I'm going to put that in parentheses right now just to keep it neat. Plus g of x, which is x plus 10. Okay, now when I look at this, I see that my parentheses are not doing anything for me because I don't have anything that is being distributed over those terms in parentheses. So I could rewrite it without the parentheses. And now I can just combine some like terms. 2x plus x is 3x, and negative 6 plus 10 will give me a positive 4. So this function plus this function equals this. Okay, so far so good. Let's take a look at what subtraction would look like. So subtraction would be f minus g of x, and that is going to be f of x minus g of x. Okay, again, not making this complicated, right? Just subtracting the two fractions, or two functions. So f of x is 2x minus 6, which again, I put in parentheses just to keep it neat for right now, minus g of x, which is x plus 10. Now you can see that the parentheses help us understand that this whole term here, this x plus 10, all of that has to have their sign switched. So this becomes 2x minus 6 minus the x minus the 10. And again, combining like terms, 2x minus x gives us x, and negative 6 plus negative 10 gives us negative 16. So that's what it would be like to subtract the fractions. Okay? Pay attention to what this notation looks like here so that you feel comfortable with it. Okay, I want to show you the next thing, which is how you go about solving some of these. So let's say that I have f of x, and we'll make this a little bit different just so that you can practice. We'll say that that's going to be 3x, and we'll say that g of x is going to be x minus 7. Okay? All right. Now, if I asked you to calculate, wait, new color. Here we go. If I asked you to calculate f plus g of 5, you would have a couple of options how to do that. The first thing that you could do is you could figure out what f plus g of x is, which would be 3x plus x minus 7. And then you could combine your like terms, because again, those parentheses are not affecting anything. 4x minus 7. You could then fill in the 5, right? So f plus g of 5 would be 4 times 5 minus 7. Doing the multiplication first is 20 minus 7, which gives you 13. So that's one way that you could solve the problem. So you could first combine your two functions and then fill things in. Alternatively, you could solve the problem a different way. You could do it like this. You could say f of 5 is going to be 3 times 5, which is 15, and g of 5 is going to be 5 minus 7, which is negative 2, and then you could add these two numbers because we're adding f of 5 plus g of 5. So that would be 15 plus negative 2, which is 13. Notice that you get the same answer. So again, here we first combine our functions and then we substitute in the 5. Here, we substitute in the 5 right away and then combine the functions. Either way works, and that is also true with the subtraction. You can do it either way, either first combining the functions and then substituting in the number, or substituting in the number to the two functions and then combining them. Either way works. What you choose to do is entirely up to you and the mood that you are in. Now, the more important question I think that we need to address is why would we ever want to add or subtract functions? And that is actually a very good question. It's a good question because we should always know why we're doing something in math or how it applies. Sometimes it's difficult because we don't always know enough math to know what comes next, right? Or what we will be capable of. But in this case, I can show you pretty easily, I think. So what this is over here is we're going to keep track of some stocks. 50, 60, 70. And we're going to hold the stocks for a couple of days. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the number of days that we own the stock, right? And this is the price of the stock. So this is like if you buy a share of Amazon, what happens to it? Or if you buy a share of Google, what happens to it? How does it change? I like this chart and looking at stocks because you're not going to get straight lines, right? So the function for these would be very complicated. So I'm not going to give you the function. I'm just going to tell you that f of x is going to stand for company A. It can't stand for Amazon because my chart here doesn't go up high enough to give me Amazon, but we have company A. And here's what we know about company A. On day 1, company A's stock was worth $10. On day 2, company A's stock was worth $40. On day 3, here we go. On day 3, it was worth $25, and on day 4, it was worth $20. Okay, so let's put that on our chart. So we have 1, which is 10, 2, which is 40, 3, which is 25, and 4, that is 20. So our graph here looks like this. Okay? All right, that's company A. Now let's do company B, and that'll be G of X. And let's make ourselves a chart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Company B's stock on day 1 was worth $30. On day 2, it was worth nothing. On day 3, it was worth $40. And on day 4, it was worth -10. So this is a very volatile stock. And volatile means it moves a lot up and down. So on day 1, it was worth 30. On day 2, it was worth 0. On day 3, it was worth 40. And on day 4, it was actually worth -10. Which, I don't know, maybe would be hard to do. I don't even know if that's possible to have a negative stock value. I'm sure it is. I'm sure that there's so much creativity in the stock world. I'm sure someone has figured out how to do that. Okay, and then finally we have company C. And company C, 1, 2, 3, 4, has values of 20, 10, 10, and 5. So day 1 is 20, day 2 is 10, day 3 is 10, day 4 is 5. So it looks like this. Okay? Now, imagine that you have bought 100 different stocks, just one share of 100 different stocks. You would have 100 different lines going here, all of them going up and down all over the place, right? And so you wanted to get a sense of, in general, how am I doing? Well, that's hard to determine when you're looking at this, right? Like, it's difficult to say, you know, are you making money? Are you losing money? Or, you know, what exactly is happening? Yeah, we don't know. Too much data is coming at us all at once. So what we are going to do is we are going to add these three functions. So this is going to be f plus g plus h of x. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on day 1, we have 10 plus 30 plus 20, which is 60. On day 2, we have 40 plus 0 plus 10, which is 50. On day 3, we have 25 plus 40 plus 10, which is 75. And on day 4, we have 20 plus negative 10 plus 5, which is 15. So now I can take this added, right, all of the functions added together, and I can graph just one line. So day 1 is 60, day 2 is 50, day 3 is 75, that's way up here, and day 4 is 15. So overall, my investments did that. You see that? Overall, my investments did that. So while this might be chaos down here, I can easily see that I am losing a ton of money by day 4. Right? So that would be an example of how when you have a lot of different functions, you know, a lot of moving parts, combining them, adding them together just gives you a simpler way to understand the big picture. And that is why we might have to add or subtract functions. All right, I hope that made things understandable, at least a little bit more so. And now you're ready to do a lot of examples.